Open houses are great. They're really good. But like I said, you have to be dedicated to it. You have to do them in a good time of day for the open house, like the buyers, not for you. I have some team members that do it what's convenient for them. And I'm like, 12 o'clock on a Sunday, you're not going to have any traffic.
Welcome back to Unstoppable Agents. This is the show and the channel that real estate agents come to build their business, build their wealth, and build a life of impact and significance. I'm your host, Brian White, and I'm blessed that I get to come to you each week interviewing some of the top agents in the country. I'm an agent, an associate broker, and team leader with a brokerage called eXp Realty, and I'm in the Dallas market. And that's a lot of fun for me because I get to learn from these amazing agents, and I love to bring their expertise to you. So folks are in the top 2% of agents across the country. We have 90,000 agents across the country, and these people are in the top 2%. Today, I'm excited to bring you Elizabeth Bartee from Houston. So Elizabeth,
Hi.
glad to have you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'd love to get started. Let's just tell us about you, how you got started in the business, and
Absolutely. So I had been a realtor for about 10 years, and I came from corporate America. I worked for corporate Walmart. I lived in Bentonville, Arkansas, was a cosmetic buyer for them. I came out into the field, was the youngest district manager at the time for corporate Walmart. This was back in my 20s. And I worked for corporate Walmart for about 7 years. And once we started having kids, corporate America was just a lot. I was working 7 days a week. I literally felt like 24 hours a day. And so I had decided that my degree was in merchandising and marketing. And so I had some realtor friends at the time that they knew I loved design work and staging and all of that kind of stuff. And so they asked me if I wanted to start staging for some of their homes. I started doing it on weekends and thought, you know what, I could probably start a business in doing this. So I left corporate America, started a staging and organizing business, and did that for about 4 years and loved it. I was doing closets and attics and pantries, and I was personal shopping for people, and I absolutely loved it. But I was getting to know these families so well, and a lot of times they were selling their home or getting ready to list their home. And I thought, I'm not getting my license, and because this is what I love to do anyway. Because I was doing all this work and then handing it off to the realtor, and then they were taking it from there. And I thought, well, shoot, I could do all of this. So got my license, and that's been 10 years ago. And when I tell people all the time when they're like, oh, is there a good time to get it? Just get it. If you have it in you to be a realtor and you have that fire in you, and I say that because I was 7 months pregnant when I got my license, and it was real estate's hard enough. And then you add 2 older children to this. I had a 7, they were 5 and 3 at the time. And then I was pregnant and got my license, and I literally built my business. I tell people this all the time, and it's crazy, but I wanted to get in shape after I had my baby. So I would put her in a stroller and I would go door to door and just meeting people in the neighborhood. I would hand out flyers, but it was a way for me to, 1, work on my real estate business, but 2, really get to know the community and also get in shape. And it was funny, like I got to where people knew my baby. Like I would do the same sections over and over. I had read in this book, because I really didn't know, my husband and I didn't know anyone in the Sugar Land or Missouri City area at the time. We didn't grow up here. We didn't have family here. So I thought, okay, how can I build my sphere of influence with not having a sphere of influence? And so that's what I did. I read in this book to pick a neighborhood and pick certain, maybe 5 streets or something, and you literally hammer those areas for 8 weeks. And so I did that in 2 different neighborhoods. I did it in Lake Olympia, which is in Missouri City, Texas, and right outside of Houston. And I did it in Riverstone, which is also a Missouri City, but it's more of an upscale. Johnson Development built a neighborhood in Missouri City as well. So pick these 2 sections, and literally in 1 year, I had sold 70% of the homes in those 2 areas. And it was like, oh, you know what, Elizabeth, why don't you call my niece? She's wanting to look, and and it just started building from that. And I tell our team,
once you do that, right, then you can market the fact that you sold 70% of the neighborhood.
100%, yes.
Nope.
And then it just became so natural. Then people were like, oh my gosh, yes, you're the sign that I keep seeing on the neighboring street, or or and I'll tell you, doing that, a lot of people don't do that anymore. I know there's now safety issues and things like that, but I will tell you, there was a comfort level with them. I don't know how many times I had heard, oh my gosh, you're the actual realtor who's doing it. You don't have a paid service that's handing your flyers. And they really liked putting a face to the name immediately, and they knew also I was genuine. I really truly wanted to help them. I was very honest that I was new. I never wanted to hide that. I know some realtors, I meet with realtors a lot just on mentoring and training, and they ask me that, Elizabeth, what do I say? I'm brand new. Tell them that. Tell them you're hungry and you want to help them, and tell them about your background. Everybody brings something different to real estate, and mine was corporate experience. And I feel like that gave me a lot of work ethic that sometimes you don't see in realtors.
And I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this. I don't even know if it's politically correct, but what's more heartwarming? Like, who do you want to warm up to more than a pregnant woman that's door knocking around the neighborhood to work hard?
Yeah.
What do you not love about that when somebody comes around the neighborhood? Like, so random people coming knocking on the doors in a variety of careers, but if you live in the neighborhood, you're coming to the door knock, build a relationship. I mean, what's not to love about that?
And they would even mention, oh my gosh, in your workout clothes. That's amazing. I wasn't dressed up. I was literally, and I don't want to say on their level, like it was literally like, okay, how can I help you? And that's how I approached it. And so I did that for about 12 months.
And you didn't show up in a business suit on Saturday morning when they're...
Yeah, exactly. And making them feel uncomfortable. I literally would help. And I tell this story all the time too. One of my favorite clients, still to this day, is I got to know her. She was needing help. She was probably, at the time, probably in her early 80s. And I found out later she had lived by herself. Her husband passed away. And the day that I had first met her, she was unloading groceries. And so I pulled the stroller over and introduced myself. And when I'm talking to her and I'm like, let me help you. It was because she had like milk and all of the stuff. And that was just my instinct to immediately just help her. And I just put everything on her front steps. And I said, no, you stay here and I'll just get them out of your car. And she was talking to the baby while I was unloading her groceries. And till this day, she's one of my favorite clients. And I've not only sold her home twice, which she's now in an assisted living center. I've done her family members. She had 2 sons. I've worked with both of them. One of her sons is now, ironically, he has been my biggest client that I've ever had. He has bought and sold more homes with me than any other client, and he's joining my team in a month. He actually decided, and he's a first responder, and so I'm so excited because he's going to focus on first responders. And it's just weird how it all works.
So much greatness in what you shared there. The first is, this is a be a good human business. When we talk about advice or what you tell people, be a good human, be helpful. You helped a lady at the grocery store with groceries. That's got nothing to do with your business. You didn't think, oh, there's a nice lady that might be selling a home soon, so what could I do to get her business?
Right.
It's literally, there's this idea we tell people, it's play a game that nobody else knows they're playing, and that's be a good human. So you just went to, and that lady, you built a relationship with her, so 2 years, 5 years, however farther down the line, when she goes to sell her house, it's not a, hey, let me interview Elizabeth and 3 other agents. It's, oh, let me call my friend Elizabeth, or let me call that wonderful lady who helped me that one day and continues to stay in touch. You're playing a different game. Great.
And you get to where you keep in contact in different ways. Yeah. With her, I had built this relationship over a period of time, and then I started writing her handwritten notes because she loved handwritten notes. And so she would even tell me that, Elizabeth, you're the only one that writes me handwritten notes. I love when I get your notes. And so again, like you said, I did it because I liked it. Like I truly enjoyed her company and still do to this day. She still writes handwritten notes to me. And like I said, she's in an assisted living center now. And I have another lady that, she was just a doll, and she moved to Denver. She didn't want to go. Her son was putting her in an assisted living center in Denver. She had never been there, but her son's family lived there, and it was just really hard for her to make that move. And she had raised her family in this home. I end up dealing with a lot of empty nesters, honestly, and so a lot of stories with my clients. And so with this particular one, they had raised her kids there, and her husband had since passed away, and so many just memories on the walls and stories that she wanted to tell. And she was a horticulturalist in her backyard. Any other realtor probably would have told her it all needs to go because it was like the secret garden. I kid you not. You walk out back and it was tunnels of just beautiful. She had a butterfly garden. But it was literally like draped over the sidewalks and anybody else would have been like, oh my God, it was a lot. It was a lot. I don't know anything about plants. I don't grow plants myself, but I can tell you, I can tell how much she truly liked what she did. And she spent all her time back there. So she asked me, she was like, Elizabeth, I'm not taking any of this down. Somebody's going to have to really love my backyard if they want. I said, we don't need to do a thing with it.
Right.
Full, let's just leave it. Come to find out at the closing table, and it was a very just good closing. And she wanted to have closing with the buyers, which is very unusual. Sometimes you just don't know. And
it is in Texas. What's interesting is some states like Minnesota, that actually is the buyers and sellers are at the table together. That's the way they do it. Down here, we're way too polite. We're way too polite down.
Yeah, which she really wanted to do it. So I asked the buyers and they were all for it. It was a young family. They had 2 young girls. And so we're sitting at the closing table. And gosh, this has been about 7 years ago. And I still remember it like yesterday. So we're sitting there and the wife says, do you mind me asking, are you a horticulturalist? And she said, well, yes, I am. And she started crying, the wife, and she said, I am. It was one of those things that here you have these 2 women that she's starting to raise her kids in this family, and here she's now to an assisted living center, and that full circle that it made. And here it's like, how in the world? They were the second family to view this home, and she happened to be a horticulturalist. I'm like, what is? So anyway, it's just, you have these stories, and I tell people all the time, do real estate in today's world. It's so hard, and there's so many different personalities and so many different cultures, and you've got to love it. Like, you've got to truly love people and love being a part of their story to want to do it, because it truly is it. I thought I worked a lot in corporate, and I think I work more now.
There's a saying that entrepreneurs and realtors are certainly in that bucket, that entrepreneurs are people that work 80 hours a week for themselves so they don't have to work 40 hours a week for somebody else. And I'm like you, I spent 20 years in corporate sales, in the corporate world. I was in sales for companies like Dell that were calling on large corporate accounts. And you just get to a point where you're like, you know what? I could do this for myself, for my family, and serve other people and build my own wealth, build my own business, and spend more time in my community versus the corporate grind. So I love that. You shared something that I just think is wonderful. And it's so often people think that, hey, I've got to go buy a bunch of leads, or hey, I've got to go do all this crazy marketing and this automation and all of this. And I love what you shared, because you really built a grassroots business. You didn't do it with, hey, how much pay-per-click can I do? Hey, how do I get automated text messages to go out? It's maybe you did some of those things too, but you really built a relationship-based business. And when you serve people at a really high level, not only do they respond and they give you a great review, but they also refer you and come back to you again and again. And once you've spent time over 10 plus years in your career, you've got a great business. We actually didn't talk about this at the beginning, but you're an icon at EXP. Like, that's the top award that we give away. And so you're a top producer, one of the top 2% of people out of more than 90,000 agents in our company. And that's amazing. So congratulations.
Thank you.
On doing that as a relationship-based salesperson. So that's great.
Thank you very much. My husband ran his own business for 18 years. And let's see, I want to say 4 years ago, he decided to get his license as well. And so he helps our buyers, and he's amazing at it because he's very patient, and he grew up on a ranch and building fences and working cattle. And so it's just his personality. He can go look at 10 homes a day and love it. He's very patient with buyers, which is a really good fit for him. And then I only handle the listing side. And it's just a really good mix for us because, again, I go back to that is my love of hearing about the stories in the home and the staging process and getting it ready for market. That's what I love to do. So it's been a really good fit for us.
So if you're talking to a new agent, like, what 3 tips would you give a new agent in this market?
A year ago, it would have been totally different. Right? I feel like our market's this.
work for the place, right? So that's what.
Yeah, I do feel like it's still a hungry market. I think buyers are starting to get aggressive again. I think they're getting more acclimated to the interest rates. Probably, I still go back to, I think what I am seeing in new realtors now is they want everything fast. It's almost like my kids, right? We compare it to my kids a lot of times where it's almost like everything is at their disposal all the time and they want it now. Their social media is now, like Amazon, I want it next day. And I think with real estate, people come in and they expect it to be fast, no matter what. You're selling homes, how can I do what you're doing? There is a lot of just sweat and that went into building this business. It was, in my case, literally sweat as I'm walking door to door. But I would probably tell them to truly look at your sphere. And when I was first told that years ago, I really didn't know what it meant, to be honest. I didn't know. I was thinking, is that my friends? Is it family? I didn't really have anybody. So I had to build my sphere. And sometimes you have to do that. Look at your sphere as, okay, where do I go to dinner? That business owner he is literally in my sphere. Where do I take my kids to the doctor? That pediatrician is essentially in my sphere. So once I started kind of rephrasing or rethinking about what my sphere was, then it started to expand on me and I could dissect, okay, these are my main people on my sphere, and then this is who I need to target maybe once a quarter. Where these people, okay, these are really big members of my sphere, so I need to maybe at least once a month, even if it was a little quick text message, hello, or so forth. I do it myself. I do not have a company, and it's just my preference. I like to be very much involved, and it hasn't hurt my business. So it's one of those things that every year we're still growing, and I've never felt like I needed to get some sort of automated system. I a little bit worry about that just because I am so engaged. People know how I answer. I'm a very sarcastic person. I grew up with brothers, and I'm afraid if they didn't answer how I would answer, they would know it wasn't me, and it would immediately take away years of what I worked at, that relationship I've built up of, oh, wait a minute, this isn't even Elizabeth. Has it not been Elizabeth the last 2-3 years? So it's like that fine line with me where it's, I don't know. I think you can use automated for once you start getting leads maybe, but we can talk about that. So number one would be work your sphere. Really dissect it, write it all down, figure out a way that you can really touch base. I still think handwritten notes is amazing. I think so little people do that anymore. I think that people that receive them love it. I've never had someone say they didn't like the handwritten note that I sent, and make it genuine. I don't talk about real estate. It's talking about how they're doing, how their kids are, if there's something I know about them. Maybe if I saw on Facebook one of their dogs had passed away, just sending them a card. Oh, I'm so sorry to see that your dog had recently passed away. And again, just being a good person. I'm not doing it because of real estate, but they're in my sphere. And so you want to take care of the people in your sphere, right? And so 2 would be open houses. Open houses were big for me too. They're a lot of work. Oh, you have to do.
How often do you have a consistent schedule? Do you do them when they're not yours?
Well, so now I give our open houses to our team members now. But when I was building my business, it was phenomenal. I was doing them at least 2 a weekend, like Saturday and Sunday, at least 3 times a month. So I was doing at least like 3 weekends when I first started, just because I was getting so much traffic, and I really honed in on the right way to do it. I think a lot of people do open houses and they're not really getting anything from it. I was putting marketing signs or open house signs everywhere. Even if it took me an hour to do it, it was still, to me, it was free marketing. But then the open house, make sure you have something to retrieve that information. Go ahead.
When you say put them everywhere, that's not 5? Is that 10? Is that 50?
So I normally would at least put out like 20 signs.
Okay, yeah.
And so, again, you don't want to be irritating. You don't want to be like, oh my gosh, Elizabeth, like she has 4. No, I just would make sure that I put them like at intersections. So I see some realtors and I'm like, I saw one like a mile ago, but I haven't seen any other real estate signs for them. Mm-hmm. And again, it's a free way that you can market. So open houses are great. They're really good. But like I said, you have to be dedicated to it. You have to do them in a good time of day for the open house, like the buyer's not for you. I have some team members that do it what's convenient for them. And I'm like, 12 o'clock on a Sunday, you're not going to have any traffic. People are busy with church or lunch early on a Saturday. If you're in a family area, it's not good because everybody has kids and they probably have sports all morning. So you really have to look at, are there events happening in the area? Am I going to get traffic? So it's not just, let's do an open house and we're going to have a ton of stuff. It's marketing on social media, things like that. Third, I would tell them is social media is where it's at. It is absolutely where it's at, I think. I think if you're not doing social media and if you are not letting your friends and family and their friends and family know what you do on a daily basis, you're missing it. You're missing because...
And where are you? So when you say social media, that could be Facebook.
So I think it just depends on, who you want your target market to be, personally. Okay. TikTok is not really my thing. We have an account. It's not really, I haven't seen a whole lot of benefit because it's not really my target either. Our target market always comes in around late 30s to like 50s, where TikTok is not really big. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time and energy and money on TikTok if it's not really my sphere. Where I have team members, that's where their people are. They're in their 20s, and that's where a lot of their people come from. My focus is normally on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on Pinterest. We have a Pinterest page that's pretty popular. And then on Instagram. So Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest.
So what I love about that is, in the United States, I don't hear about Pinterest anymore. It's been a long time since I've heard about it. Doesn't mean it's not awesome. It's just not where I'm at, and it's where your target people are. So the advice for people is not, hey, you got to be on everywhere. It's like, where are your people?
Correct. 100%.
So my people are on Facebook. Maybe they moved to Instagram. The truth is they're a bunch of TikTok scrollers and in real watch.
And that's fine. Yes, we're TikTok scrollers, Instagram scrollers, but me more Facebook.
Yeah, totally. So be where your people are. So I've gotten decent engagement out of LinkedIn because I spent 20 years in the corporate world and I built a corporate world following. So people that I used to have a great relationship that I built a trusting relationship with in prior life, they still trust me. If I did good business before, they actually believe that I'm still doing business. And so that transfers. Just be where your people are and that'll be great.
And I've noticed that people are completely different. There's some crossover that I see. Really, my LinkedIn crowd is very different than my Instagram crowd. It's very different than my Facebook crowd. So you want to make sure that you're not leaving anyone out as well.
You're awesome. Thank you. So thank you for being here from Houston. If anybody is watching that is moving to Houston, then let us know. We'll include your info in the description so they can send them your way. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.